Welcome to the next episode of my series where I review films that make you go, what the fuck? This time I'm going to talk about another movie by Takashi Miike, Audition. This is probably going to be the last movie of his I'm going to discuss here because, honestly, dude's made like 100 movies, a good chunk of which are freaking weird. And I don't want him making up 90% of this series. Anyways, back to Audition. Wow, what a disturbing ass movie. But damn if it ain't a good one. That I honestly feel to be his best work. An underrated gem. Before we dive in, this movie is not for the squeamish. The few horror elements that do show up are extremely disturbing, and are enough to make the film be considered as such. That being said, however, I'd argue that this movie, at its very core, is more of a tragedy than a horror film. A very disturbing tragedy, but a tragedy nonetheless. The thing about tragedies nowadays, be it in fiction or even real life, is that a lot of them start with buying into something that's too good to be true. I mean, ancient wisdom states that if something's too good to be true, it probably is. And that's exactly what happens here to our protagonist, a lonely, middle-aged, widowed single father who, at the suggestion of his only son, finds the next woman of his dreams, or so he thought, through a sham audition held by one of his friends who happens to be a film producer. Think Tinder before Tinder even became a thing, except these women have no idea. After sitting through countless auditions, there she was, a beacon of light in this dark, dark world. Young, pretty, refined, pure, innocent yet emotionally mature. What kind of middle-aged man wouldn't want that? But wait a minute, some things about her past don't add up. Her references can't be reached, having gone missing a year and a half ago. Nah! Despite the crimson red, no, not even red, black flags she's giving off, our protagonist, being blinded by love and sporting the darkest, crimson-tinted shades imaginable, can't help but follow her. Little does he know what he's really getting himself into. Because, and this is where I'll be talking about spoilers, so you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you skip to this timestamp right now because things about to get spicy. Because bitch is crazy! What the hell is that? Damn, girl, you live like this? She makes freaking Yuno Gasai, the textbook definition of yandere, look sane. But he doesn't know that. Yet. He proceeds to find her, they go on a few dates, and next thing you know, he does what no man should ever do. Stick his dick in crazy. And then, she disappears. He continues investigating and finds a lead. See, in her audition she mentioned wanting to be a ballet dancer before suffering an injury so bad, it killed any chance of pursuing that dream. So, he decides to look into her dance background and finds the studio in which she trained. And it's abandoned. And there's a crazy dude in a wheelchair with prosthetic feet. Another thing to mention is before they made love, she made him promise his love for her, and only her, after showing him some really bad scars. As it turns out, this wheelchaired asshole is the reason behind her injury and burn scars, having tortured her and done other unspeakable depraved acts to her when she was a kid. This messed her up in more ways than one. It's revealed later that after she grew up, she amputated his feet in retaliation. Oh, he also dies a painful death to her later shortly after the encounter. Rot in hell, you sick bastard. In her resume, she mentioned that she worked at a part-time job at a bar. So after being unable to reach the owner, our guy searches for the place himself. Turns out, the bar had been abandoned because the owner was killed and dismembered. Then he starts seeing visions of the mutilated body parts. Meanwhile, his lover breaks into his house, perhaps to learn more about him. She finds a picture of his widow, and this sets her off, since, in her eyes, he has already lied to her and broken his promise. So, she does what any reasonable human being would do by talking it out. Just kidding, she drugs him. He passes out and starts tripping. He sees a vision of her apartment, and it's revealed what she does in her spare time and what the hell's in that bag. It's a man who's missing all kinds of body parts, including his tongue. He's only alive through quite literally her vomit. She feeds him her vomit! Now, it's left ambiguous whether or not she actually did what she did in her vision, but the most common, and in my opinion the best, interpretation is because of what she is about to do anyways. What most likely happened is that during his drug-induced state, she starts unloading all her trauma and it just kind of went from there. We know at least this much once our protagonist wakes up. His body is paralyzed, but still able to feel things. Unfortunately, that includes pain. The next 10 or so minutes of this movie is her gleefully torturing him and cutting off parts of his body, all the while getting a kick out of this like a little girl playing with her dolls. To her, this kind of pain comes with love. It's how she learned love. It's unfair that he has other people to love while she only has him. Man, talk about hurt people hurting people. She then goes on to gloat about how his son will be next. There's nothing our guy can do about it. No one to call for help, no way to escape, no way to warn or save his son from what he's about to face. Just as luck would have it, his son has just come back from a long day of school. Thankfully, because the kid ain't stupid, he notices something's off and he manages to dodge her surprise attack. He eventually overpowers her and, well, kinda ends from there. The entire movie is basically a slow burn building up to the climax towards the end, which, from the visions to the torture sequence, is just pure horror and gore. So for that, I'm giving the movie a WTF rating of 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, this movie is nuts. However, it's also surprisingly deep, and as mentioned earlier, tragic. The protagonist himself was seedy, sure, but he did not deserve any of this shit happening to him. His intentions were at least genuine since he was lonely and grieving, even if the way he went about them was questionable. The villain was batshit insane, but understandably so. Her warped worldview from all the trauma in her life caused her to partially misunderstand the protagonist, thinking he's like the other men who preyed on her. Of course, again, part of that's on him because of how he went about things. But as you learn exactly what made her that way, you feel pretty bad for her. Again, hurt people hurt people. So for its rather deep and compelling story, I'm giving this movie a rating of 8.5 out of 10. It's a disturbing watch and will definitely leave a very strong impression, for better or worse. This movie was definitely made with a person or type of person in mind. And honestly, if something like that happened to the Roman Polanskis or Harvey Weinsteins or Dan Schneiders or P. Diddy's of the world, it wouldn't be all that bad, I think.